Hello and welcome to Indus News. Live from Islamabad, I'm Naila Shuja and these are the headlines. Islamabad has called on the United Nations and the international community to take note of Indian terrorism in Pakistan. Handing over a dossier on international Indian terrorism to the United Nations, Secretary General Antonio Guterres, Pakistan's Ambassador Munir Akram said India is involved in sponsoring terrorism in Pakistan and in the region and wants to paralyze Pakistan's economy. Meanwhile, Pakistan apprises the United Nations Security Council of the grave situation in Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. In a letter to the President of the Security Council and the Secretary General, Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi said illegal demographic changes in the occupied valley are a violation of the Security Council's resolution and the international law. He also highlighted India's military occupation, land confiscation, influx of non-Kashmiris, and creation of alien settlements in Kashmir. United States President-elect Joe Biden has announced his foreign policy and national security team for 6 important posts. Speaking in his hometown of Wilmington, Biden says America is back and ready to lead the world as he turns away from Trump's America's First policy. He says his administration will emphasize enhanced cooperation on working with Washington's allies. Azerbaijan has retaken Kalabajar district as a part of the deal signed with Russia and Armenia to end the Nagorno-Karabakh war. The Azeri Defense Ministry says units of the Azerbaijan army have entered the region after 27 years of Armenian occupation. During the 44 days of conflict, Azerbaijan liberated several cities and nearly 300 settlements and villages from Armenia. The global number of coronavirus deaths has topped 1.4 million with more than 59.6 million infections. Brazil's COVID-19 death toll has crossed 170,000 while more than 6 million people have tested positive for the virus. India has registered 481 deaths and over 44,000 infections overnight, with the caseload crossing 9.2 million. Pakistan's death toll has surpassed 7,800 with 59 new deaths and over 3,000 new cases in the past 24 hours. And in football, Paris Saint-Germain have revived their hopes of reaching the Champions League knockout phase by beating RB Leipzig. Neymar scored the only goal of the match through an early penalty to secure the 1-0 victory for Paris. For more news and details, stay tuned. We'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back. Islamabad has called on the United Nations and the international community to take note of Indian terrorism in Pakistan.
Handing over a dossier on Indian terrorism, the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, Pakistan's Ambassador Munir Akram said India is involved in sponsoring terrorism in Pakistan and in the region and wants to paralyze Pakistan's economy. He urged the UN chief to prevail on New Delhi to desist from these illegal and aggressive activities. Later in a press briefing at the Pakistan mission, Ambassador Akram said he told Guterres that India is violating international law, the UN Charter and Security Council resolutions by stoking terrorism. He added, Pakistan will draw attention of the relevant UN bodies to Indian terrorism while reserving its right to self-defense. The envoy said the Secretary General praised Pakistan's fight against terrorism. In conducting the most successful counter-terror operations anywhere in the world, Pakistan paid a heavy price. Terrorism has claimed over 83,000 lives of civilians and soldiers and caused massive setback of economy worth $126 billion to Pakistan.
Pakistan apprises the United Nations Security Council of the grave situation in Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi wrote a letter to the President of the Security Council and the Secretary General. Qureshi said the illegal demographic changes in the occupied valley are a violation of Security Council resolutions and international law. He also highlighted India's military occupation, land confiscation, influx of non-Kashmiris, and creation of alien settlements in Kashmir. The Foreign Minister called on the Security Council to exercise its direct responsibility to prevent India from perpetrating its criminal colonial project. India has so far committed 2,700 ceasefire violations, killing 25 and wounding more than 200 innocent people in 2020 alone. Pakistan's foreign minister has left for Niger to participate in the 47th session of the OIC'S Foreign Ministers' Council. The Ministerial Council of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation will start from the 27th of November. Pakistan's Foreign Office says representatives of all 57 OIC member states and 5 observer states will attend the session. It said the delegates will discuss confronting Muslim world with particular focus on combating Islamophobia, Palestine and Kashmir. It said Shah Mahmood Qureshi will highlight the worsening human rights and humanitarian situation in Indian-occupied Kashmir. On the sideline, Qureshi will also hold bilateral meetings with his counterparts and heads of delegations of member states. United States President-elect Joe Biden has announced his foreign policy and national security team for 6 important posts.
Speaking in his hometown of Wilmington, Biden says America is back and ready to lead the world as he turns away from Trump's America First policy. Biden said his administration will emphasize enhanced cooperation on working with Washington's allies. He praised the vast experience and diversity of his team, saying it will not retreat from challenges. The president-elect named Antony Blinken as Secretary of State and Alejandro Mayorkas as first Latino Homeland Security Secretary. Linda Thomas-Greenfield has been assigned the portfolio of ambassador to the UN. Jake Sullivan has been given charge of National Security Advisor. Biden continued to break barriers by appointing Avril Haines as Director of National Intelligence, the first woman to hold the post. With the announcement, Biden is pressing forward with transition even as Trump refuses to concede defeat.
Syria's military says Israeli warplanes carried out airstrikes on the southern outskirts of the capital, Damascus. In a statement, the military said Israeli strikes hit a strategic area from the occupied Golan Valley. It said the air raids only caused material damages. The strike on the southern Damascus came just a week after a series of Israel's air raids against multiple targets inside Syria. Israeli officials have denied to comment on the Syrian army's claims. Ethiopia has rejected criticism by rights bodies over the government's ongoing military operation in its Tigray region. This comes after international rights groups and the United Nations expressed concerns regarding killing of civilians by warring sides in the clashes. In a statement, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed refuted all such actions as interference in the country's internal affairs. He said Ethiopia is capable of resolving its matters in accordance with its domestic and international laws. Abiy urged the international community to respect fundamental principles of non-intervention under the international law. Earlier, Ethiopia's human rights body said at least 600 civilians have been killed in the clashes in the town of Maikadra. Meanwhile, the European Union has also called for hostilities to halt, saying the fighting is seriously destabilizing the Eastern African region. Azerbaijan has retaken Kalabajar district as a part of a deal signed between Russia and Armenia to end the Nagorno-Karabakh war. During the 44-day conflict, Azerbaijan liberated several cities and nearly 300 settlements and villages from Armenia. The Azeri Defense Ministry said units of the Azerbaijan army have entered the region after 27 years of Armenian occupation. Meanwhile, the presidents of Turkey and Russia have discussed the progress of agreements in Nagorno-Karabakh. President Tayyip Erdogan said other co-chairs of Minsk group criticizing Russian and Turkish peace efforts is regrettable. Russia's President Vladimir Putin briefed Erdogan about the activities of Russian peacekeepers. Russian troops have started securing a passage of vehicles in Nagorno-Karabakh's Lachin corridor. Earlier, Turkey said it will reveal the alleged war crimes by Armenia during the 6 weeks of fighting in the Karabakh region. The global number of coronavirus deaths has topped 1.4 million with more than 59.6 million infections. Brazil's COVID-19 death toll has crossed 170,000, while more than 6 million people have tested positive for the virus. India has registered 481 deaths and over 44,000 infections overnight, with a caseload crossing 9.2 million. More in this report.
As COVID-19 continues to change the world, hundreds of daily deaths and abnormal funeral conditions have quietly become the saddest new normal. The devastation of the virus in the Northern Hemisphere continues as Canada launched new restrictions to slow the spread in its Alberta province. In the U.S., the number of COVID-19 hospitalizations in California has increased by 81% over the last 2 weeks. Russian authorities say the country's coronavirus situation is becoming more complicated with the onset of winter season. But the country's Sputnik V vaccine is said to cost only $20, promising a much-needed silver lining to billions eagerly waiting.
Firstly, I would definitely be vaccinated with the Russian vaccine, since the Russian vaccine will be adapted for the people living in this region. Second, of course, I would like to do it for free. But $10 to $20 is not too much. People can afford it.
Meanwhile, European governments are also taking measures to prevent COVID-19 cases multiplying over the holiday season. France has announced only a limited easing of its strict nationwide lockdown, while Germany and Spain have outlined new curbs on Christmas and New Year gatherings. Over in the African continent, obstacles in distributing a vaccine in far-off regions has raised new concerns.
One of the problems you've got with these COVID vaccines is not many of them have been trialed in Africa. Luckily, AstraZeneca is one of the ones that has been trialed in Africa. But if you don't trial these vaccines in Africa, because Africa is not a part of the development, testing, and deployment of the vaccines, there's a risk that they might not even work on certain African populations.
However, in Oceania, the pandemic seems to be weakening as Australia's New South Wales state is set to ease social distancing restrictions after recording 3 weeks without any local transmission of COVID-19.
In Pakistan, 59 people have lost their lives to COVID-19 over the past 24 hours, raising the death toll to 7,803. The health ministry says 3,009 people tested positive for the disease overnight. The ministry said there are more than 42,000 active COVID-19 cases in the country. It added out of nearly 383,000 countrywide cases, almost 333,000 have recovered so far. The ministry said over 166,000 cases have been detected in the province of Sindh, while the Punjab has reported close to 116,000 cases. In the capital, Islamabad, nearly 28,000 have been infected so far. The World Economic Forum is holding its country strategy dialogue on Pakistan today. The dialogue is the World Economic Forum's signature platform for countries with rising economies and promising growth potential. Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan will inaugurate the dialogue and participate via video link. In the day-long event, global business leaders will hold discussions with advisors to the Prime Minister and cabinet ministers. Wide-ranging subjects including economy, trade, regional connectivity, and China-Pakistan economic corridor are on the agenda. Pakistan has established its first human rights resource portal with the collaboration of the European Union. In a video message, Minister of Human Rights Shireen Mazari said the portal contains all information related to human rights and Pakistan. Mazari said portal is a source of information of Pakistan's laws and international conventions that the country has signed on human rights. She said the portal brings together the work on the ministry's action plan and its awareness and training programs on human rights. Mazari said the portal contains data on Pakistan's domestic human rights framework. This also included information regarding critical issues like prisons and child abuse.
It is an extremely comprehensive guide to anyone who wants to know not only the status of human rights in Pakistan, but the laws that exist, the potential trainings that are going to be done and are being done, and also the domestic human rights framework.
The Pakistan Army has announced promotions of its senior officers. The military's media wing says 6 major generals have been promoted to the rank of lieutenant general. Among those promoted are Major General Akhtar Nawaz, Major General Sardar Hassan Azhar Hayat, Major General Muhammad Ali, Major General Saman Fayaz Ghani, and Major General Faraz Ali. The former head of military's media wing, Major General Asif Ghafoor, has also been promoted. It's now time for a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Thai police have summoned 7 leaders of anti-government protests to face charges of insulting the monarchy. Police said the decision comes a day before a planned demonstration demanding the king to give up control of the royal fortune. This will be the first time that such charges have been brought under the laws about insults to the royal family in over 2 years. Anyone found guilty will face up to 15 years in prison. Protests against the Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha have increasingly turned to demands to curb the royal powers. Police said no protesters will be allowed within 150 meters of the Crown Property Bureau. In France, lower house of the parliament has passed a controversial bill that declares circulating facial images of police officials a crime. The bill, termed General Security Law, is designed to strengthen the police. Under the bill, anyone charged with the crime will be jailed for a year and fined 45,000 euros upon conviction. 388 members voted in favor and 104 voted against the bill, moving it to the Senate for a second approval. In response to demonstrations against the bill, the government has allowed the broadcast of a police officer's individual identity number. Critics and protesters have slammed the law as authoritarian, which exempts police from accountability for their actions. French police have violently dismantled a makeshift migrant camp in Paris after clashes with migrants and activists. In a tweet, Interior Minister Gerald Darmanin said some of the scenes were shocking. Darmanin ordered police to provide a full report on their actions. Dozens of small tents were removed from Place de la République, with occupants being tipped out by the police. The homeless migrants say they are forced to live on the streets. Police resorted to baton charge and demonstrators as they moved in to clear the square of migrants' tenants. Police also used tear gas and chased people through the streets. 4 people have died after a migrant boat from northwest Africa overturned just off the coast of the Spanish island of Lanzarote. Rescue officials say the death toll may rise as several others are still missing. Rescue officials say there were about 35 people on the vessel when it capsized after smashing into rocks in the Orzola. They say scores of people have been saved while rescuers are still searching for any survivors. They added all those on board were from Maghreb in northwest Africa, and they were trying to reach Spain's Canary Islands. The Spanish government has promised to set up camps and shelters for 7,000 people in the Canary Islands. In the United States, the Utah Department of Public Safety has discovered a mysterious metal monolith in the southeastern part of the state. The Utah Wildlife Department officials on mission to count bighorn sheep spotted an unusual 10 to 12 feet high, shiny silver metal monolith sticking out of the ground. The department did not disclose the location of the monolith. Officials said anyone who goes to the area could end up getting stranded and will require a rescue operation. They say it is illegal to install structures or art without authorization on public lands. They add that the origin of the monolith was not yet clear. Japanese trendsetters can now protect against the coronavirus in luxurious style with opulent masks. The lavish masks are adorned with diamond and pearls for a cool $1,000,000 each. More in this report.
As wearing a face mask has become essential in the coronavirus era, a casual wear store in Japan presents luxury masks. A diamond mask is embellished with a 0.7-carat diamond and more than 300 pieces of Swarovski crystal, while the pearl mask contains some 330 Japanese Akoya pearls. Some visitors to the store were concerned the $1,000,000 masks might be out of their league.
If I wear one of these face masks, I have to wear suitable clothes to match it. So I think it is a bit embarrassing to dress up. I am concerned about the price. It is a little bit expensive and it is concerning, so I cannot buy it easily.
The luxurious masks have not been purchased yet, but they are still far from the world's most expensive. That honor belongs to a $1.5 million mask made with 250 grams of 18-karat gold, designed by Israeli jeweler UL.
Although no one has bought them, yet we have had customers reacting and saying such things as beautiful or amazing. So we hope this can cheer up those who see it.
Foxco's mask.com chain began selling the handmade masks last week with the aim of cheering up people and to spur sales in a fashion industry depressed by the COVID-19 pandemic.
In Egypt, a radiologist is using matchsticks to create dazzling replicas of famous landmarks. His home in Giza City is full of artwork representing the ancient and modern wonders of the world. More in this report.
Egypt's matchstick man builds replicas of famous landmarks. Ahmed Hassan has exclusively represented the ancient and modern wonders of the world. Each piece has taken him months to finish. Notre Dame de Paris Cathedral has been inspired by his sorrow after it was consumed by fire in 2019. It took him 3 months of work and nearly 28,000 matchsticks to create the masterpiece.
I started working on it 4 days after the fire. I managed to collect all the needed information. It took me 3 months of work. It took nearly 28,000 matchsticks. I don't count them, but the box of matches, the type which I use, has 100 matchsticks.
He has participated in some exhibitions in Egypt. Hassan has also donated some of his artwork, including a replica of the Suez Canal. But the artist says he does not plan to sell any of his pieces. He dreams of showcasing his replicas in international museums and exhibitions.
These pieces of artwork are not made to be put up in a cardboard box. They are made for people to enjoy them, whether they are shown in a museum or in a permanent exhibition. I wish these pieces would tour the world, not remain in just one country.
Hassan's other works include Alexandria's Lighthouse, the Library of Alexandria, and the Tower Bridge.
This year, the Thanksgiving holiday is being celebrated in a different style due to the pandemic. COVID-19 has transformed the parade into a television-only event. More in this report.
American department store chain Macy's is preparing for a Thanksgiving Day parade unlike any other. Due to the coronavirus pandemic, there will be no children and no spectators lining New York City's traditional 2.5-mile parade route. But there will be giant character balloons and floats with a few modifications for the times. Executive producer of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade says they are trying to keep everybody safe at home.
I think the biggest thing that we're going to be looking at this year is ensuring that we reduce our crowd size, whether that's actually internally in the parade itself, and then we're going to be really blocking off the areas to make sure that we're producing a show for television. So there won't be any audience, there won't be people lining the streets, and that's so that we can keep everybody at home safe on Thanksgiving Day.
The company says the giant balloons will be flown out without the traditional 80 to 100 balloon handlers. Instead of marching through Manhattan, the parade will be reimagined over the course of several days leading up to the live Thanksgiving Day broadcast. New this year to the parade are giant balloons of the Boss Baby and Red Titan from Ryan's World. New floats debuting are Big Turkey Spectacular, Tom and Jerry's Tourist Trap, and Christmas in Town Square.
I think this year, more than ever, it's incredibly important that we deliver Thanksgiving and this celebration and tradition to everybody across the country. I think we all need a little bit of relief and happiness this year and a little bit of entertainment, and that's what our plan is to deliver that on Thanksgiving morning.
The parade will be aired on television on November 26th in all time zones.
Britain has called on the European Union to move ahead in order to secure a mutually favorable Brexit deal. In an interview, British Cabinet Minister Michael Gove expressed hope that the United Kingdom will be able to secure a good deal with the European Union. Gove said that the bloc needs to acknowledge that people of Britain voted to take back control, which was the most important thing. With the resumption of talks, European Union negotiator Michael Barnier said major gaps on fishing rights and economic fair play still remained. The two sides have been trying to keep $8 trillion worth of bilateral trade free of tariffs and quotas from 2021.
We have a very strong, very able negotiating team under David Frost, and they are working round the clock to secure the very best deal for the United Kingdom. We've got clear red lines, and we won't cross them. But I hope that we will be able to secure a good deal with the European Union, but it's important to recognise that the European Union needs to move as well, and it needs to acknowledge that we voted to take back control, and that's the most important thing.
European stocks are trading higher as growing political certainty in the United States and positive coronavirus vaccine news boost global sentiment. European stock 600 has edged up with oil and gas stocks gaining. London's FTSE 100 and Italy's FTSE MIB have gained marginally. Frankfurt's DAX has moved above the flat line. The CAC 40 in Paris has also risen fractionally. Earlier, Asian bourses traded mixed with Japanese, Hong Kong, and Australian bourses gaining, while mainland Chinese and South Korean stocks shed. In football, teams battle to book their spot in the pre-ultimate stage of the contest as injuries and fatigue pose a staunch challenge. More in this report.
As the knockout stage of the UEFA Champions League draw closer, Barcelona, Chelsea, Juventus and Sevilla have become the first teams to qualify for the final 16. Paris Saint-Germain have revived their hopes of reaching the Champions League knockout phase by beating RB Leipzig. Neymar scored the only goal of the match through an early penalty to secure the 1-0 victory for Paris. Earlier, Cristiano Ronaldo's first-half strike against Ferencváros equaled Lionel Messi's record of 70 home goals in the league. Chelsea booked their ticket to the round of 16 with a 2-1 win against Rennes in Group E. Meanwhile, Barcelona put out a dominant second-half display to comprehensively defeat Ukrainian giants Dynamo Kiev 0-4 on their own turf. In Group E, Ivan Rakitic's superb early strike and Munir's late clincher sent Sevilla through after defeating Krasnodar 2-1. Meanwhile, Manchester United coach says the team can still make its way to the knockout round.
Well, the group is still very open. We've got 9, 2 on 6 and Başakşehir on 3, so we still need points to go through. 1 probably should be enough to go through, and 3 probably gives you the win. So it's going to be 2. Hopefully against PSG we can secure the points we need.
Moreover, Liverpool's same Mohamed Salah is available to face Atlanta today after testing negative for coronavirus.
It's now time to take a look at the weather around the world. For the latest news updates, you can follow us on our social media at Indus.News.